There's two things that you need to learn a language. Vocabulary, the rules of it. Like how you use this vocabulary. And Ibn Faris, who was a scholar who came about 100 years before Ibn Sida, as well known as an imam in a reference in the Arabic language, he said something very similar. He said, إِنَّ لِعِلْمِ الْعَرَبِ أصلا وفرعا أما الفرع فمعرفة الأسماء والصفات كقولنا الرجل وفرس وطويل وقصير وهذا هو الذي يبدأ به عند التعلم. He said the knowledge of Arabic has a root and a branch. And for the branch, it is knowing nouns and adjectives, like I was saying of man and horse and tall and short. And then he beautifully says and accurately says, this is what one begins with when learning. So now we know, and we all know, and the debate is all, oh,
should we start with grammar, or should we start with vocabulary, or should we start with vocabulary, should we start with grammar, Medina books because it's grammar, but Arabiya bin Adik because it's vocabulary heavy. What do we start with?
And the debate is all this. So let's agree on one thing. There is vocabulary and there is rules that you need. You will need both at one point or another. But Ibn Faris, Imam في اللغة ومرجع إليها, or مرجع في فن اللغة, he says that هذا الذي يبدأ به عند التعلم. This is what we start with when learning, the vocabulary. And I will give you a funny story that happened just 2 days ago. My daughter, she slapped me on my nose or scratched me. I can't remember what happened. And so I was trying to show her some etiquette. And I said, you want some of this cake? She said, yes. I said, okay, then say, sorry for having hurt you on your nose. But my daughter, she is only 2 years old. So she knows nose and she knows sorry, but she doesn't know for having hurt you. Tamam, and for having, this is an advanced level of speech. And hurt you is a verb, which you don't usually start learning verbs. You usually start learning nouns. So she looked at me and said, okay, say, sorry for having hurt you on your nose. She said, sorry, nose. And so there was a space in between sorry and nose because she didn't know how to say that. And so this shows that humans, when learning a language, you start with scattered vocabulary. And then little by little, you learn how to form sentences by this method, by somebody giving you feedback, whether it's a parent, whether it's a friend, whether it's a language companion, whether it's AI nowadays, whether it's a teacher. The point is you need a way on how to acquire vocabulary. And this is what we are going to get into right now. And I'm about to invite you into my screen, and I will show you how inside of Andalus Institute, which is the institute that I run, where we teach the Arabic language online, where we get this vocabulary from. So come with me. Now, when we are inside of Andalus Institute, you are going to have this very well structured, broken down program, and in each of these, you have different vocabulary lessons. You have two things. You have a vocabulary lesson per lesson. Okay, a vocabulary lesson per lesson. And you have a, what I call dars muhim, a essential lesson. In this case here is the future, the near future. As you can see, without me clicking on it, سأفعل, I will do. And then this lesson is the actual place where we go over new vocabulary. Tamam? So you grab the new vocabulary, you grab some of the rules. So in this case, the essential lesson of how to use the future. And then what I really wanted to show you is the actual book with all the lessons. So you start from lesson 1. And as you can see, it's a very simple conversation between Muhammad and Ali. And Muhammad tells Ali, Assalamu alaikum, how are you? I am fine. And you, how are you? I'm fine as well. Marhaban bik, welcome. And so what you do is after this lesson, you will have a list of words that you have to learn. In this case, tahiyya, salutation, dars, lesson, awwal, first, kaifa, how, akh, brother, ukht, sister, fi, in, masjid, mosque. Tamam? And so this is the lesson. You have to memorize these words. You memorize them, you get something like this, a vocabulary wallet, where you're able to write down this vocabulary in here, like this. And then you go ahead and these, you wake up in the morning and you go over it, you do your revision, you go over the pages, the new vocab that you have learned, and you memorize it, you get familiar with it. Here you are going to learn you learn vocabulary and you learn rules. However, you need feedback. You need that parent that's telling you to say sorry for having hurt you on your nose. And then when you say sorry nose, I say no, sorry for having hurt you on your nose. Tamam? So you need that person. And so that person comes into the picture as a form of an instructor. So as you can see, students can choose in between one of our great instructors, mashallah. So the student, as you can see here, he has booked a call already. And it's happening in actually 3 minutes, Sunday, April 19th. So as you can see here on the schedule of this call, there is something called Student Lesson Guide. So if we click on it, for this particular lesson, the student has a specific learning objectives that he needs to go over. Now, if we go directly to the end, to the checklist, as you can see, he needs to be able to read fluently short paragraph with the harakat as of now, until we get to being able to read with the harakat. Good understanding of sentences about self, others, and especially family. Ability to talk about their life situation and background. Ability to use present and future tense sentences. Okay, so this is the can read fluently with harakat, good understanding of sentence. This is the part of nouns, like vocabulary, which is what Ibn Sida was talking about, Ibn Faris was talking about, what we start with. Then the second part is what helps you, which is the ability to use present and future tense, and has mastered previous topics such as pronouns, dama'ir, asma al-ishara, demonstrative pronouns or demonstrative nouns, like that and this and that over there and like that. Tamam, and then he goes over this session with his instructor over a few exercises. What are these exercises? First of all, the student will read in front of the teacher these and translate it into English. Tamam, to see if he is able to understand what he's reading. Then same thing here, we are going to translate this. So here is related to the new rule that the student has learned, which is future tense. Then this is sentence conjugation. So ana mudari' with the verb istata'a. Me in present tense with the verb istata'a. So ana astati', I can. Then hum in mustaqbal, them in the future tense. Okay, so them in the future tense, hum sayastati'una. All right, and you do this with all of these different verbs to see if you are able to conjugate these in future tense, present tense, which is one of the objectives of this particular coaching call. Then likewise, translate this into English. And then the opposite as well, to see if you're able to recall and produce Arabic from the top of your head. So how would you say this in Arabic? And then likewise here, describe this picture in Arabic, right? As the instructor is correcting you. No, don't say this like this, say this like this, don't say this like this, say this like that. And then some role play with the instructor about living situation, free time, etc. And then this is a session. And you do this 74 times or 70 plus times with your instructors until you are able to actually get to higher levels of language production.